Well, today is a good day for a little bit of lawful rebellion. G'day everybody and welcome back. I'm heading into Hobart for a peaceful demonstration protesting the proposed introduction of essentially anti-association laws, discriminatory bloody blight on our basic human rights. So for those who aren't familiar with what's been happening in Australia for a while now, it sort of started in Queensland with the then Premier of the state, a man by the name of Campbell Newman, and prior to becoming the Premier of Queensland, he was in fact the the Lord Mayor of Brisbane. Anyway, Campbell decided that he was going to go to war with the bikies. So what he determined that the 1% motorcycle clubs were nothing more than a criminal organisation, essentially, and he went about pushing legislation through Parliament that essentially made that happen. They had a clampdown on the bikies, on the 1% clubs. They came down hard on them with things like they're not allowed to wear their colours in public, they're not allowed to gather or associate with each other any more than 2 people from the same club or any club. It's an offence. Shut down their clubhouses. They just pushed the whole thing underground, and unfortunately it's more far-reaching than that. I mean, it's bad enough that, you know, they've targeted and stereotyped motorcycle club members, stating unilaterally that they are a criminal organisation, but then it reaches outside of that, so it affects, you know, different people in the community. I'll tell you how far it went. You're not allowed to employ a person in a licensed trade. You are not allowed to employ a person who is a member of a motorcycle club. I'm going to call them clubs, or their associates. So my brother is a tattooist. He owns a tattoo shop in Queensland, and they put all sorts of restrictions on the way he operates. He's got to keep a permanent record of all of the people that he employs or work in his business. They've got to be subjected to criminal background checks. They have the police drop in and check his paperwork regularly. They give him a hard time, and it's easy to give him a hard time because it's easier to do that than go and kick in the door for the banditos. So they just go and pick on, you know, local tattoo shops, etc. It's an offence for him to tattoo somebody who is a member of a known criminal organisation or their associate, even if he doesn't know. That's not an excuse in the eyes of the law in Queensland. So if that isn't just outright utter discrimination, I don't know what is. motorcycle club members who were being arrested were being humiliated in the prison system, where they were dressing them in pink jumpsuits. They could be held without charge under certain circumstances, and the police only had to have reasonable suspicion in order to hold them. Didn't need any proof or evidence or anything. And what they did was, they stopped them flying their colours. They stripped them of their patches, and in order to avoid persecution and subsequent charges, the bikies complied. But what that did was it meant that the average Joe on the street couldn't tell the difference between some bloke out for a cruise on a Sunday on his Harley Davidson, or members of the known criminal organisations. So then every Joe Blow riding a Harley Davidson was getting stopped, and it wasn't just Harley Davidsons either. And the police were told to just hammer it, get out there, make a point, make an example of someone. And there's organisations like the Ulysses Club, and even I think one of the Christian motorcycle clubs were all there was a photograph of them getting around they were all face down on the bitumen with handcuffed, and the police that undergo searches on their bikes and issue bloody infringement notices. It's just not good enough, and we shouldn't have to put up with that sort of level of discrimination. If there is criminal activity, and there is criminal activity, there's no two ways about it, in every single part of the community. So there's a percentile, I don't even know what it is. So many percent of the community are criminals, and so that it's fair to say that where you work there'll be a percentile. The clubs that you're in, whether they be recreational clubs or motorcycle clubs or churches, don't even get me started on that one. There's criminals, so deal with the criminal element. Do not put a blanket policy because you don't like them being badasses. That's essentially what it is. These guys that are implementing this type of legislation are the kids that were picked on at school. They were the boys that were bullied at school, and now the little sooks are getting their own back. So, in my view, shitty weather or not, it's up to us to stand up for our rights as citizens and resist as hard as we possibly can anyone who wants to introduce those sorts of totalitarian legislation. Is just not on. But we're fighting a losing battle because they don't really care. They just run it over the top of you and bring it in anyway. They've done it in a lot of the states already on the mainland. So it's only a matter of time. And of course they say, oh, I think the ACT are having a bit of the Australian Capital Territory, which is where our nation's capital is. It's a little territory inside the borders of New South Wales. I think they're having a few issues because they don't have such legislation there, and of course the motorcycle clubs that have basically been driven into the ground in New South Wales just move out there to Canberra. And they're suggesting that Tasmania is at risk of a similar focus from the motorcycle, the illegal activity of these alleged criminals. And that they'll set up shop here. Well, you know, that'll happen. So what the ACT are crying for is a harmonisation of the anti-association laws across the entire country, so that we're all on the same playing field. And they usually adopt the ones that you really don't want them to adopt. But we'll see how it plays out. First order of business, meet with a couple of the boys at the Harbour Lights Cafe for a coffee. May even get a belly full of pig fat and a chook's menstrual cycle or two. Chook's a chicken. In Australia we call them chooks. Chook, 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 chook. Good morning. You got room for a bike? That'll do me, I can fit in there. Park it in the corner? Oh, right up the top? Yeah. Thank you. Alright, thank you, mate. Oh, they told me to park here, mate. Down at the gate. They told me to park here down at the gate. Oh, you can go ape shit. I'll deal with him, thanks.
We've got addresses of members of parliament here, all of the Tasmanian upper and lower house state members. There's paper and there's pens here, so anyone who wants to come up at any time, tear a bit of paper off, write down the phone number or the email of your member of parliament, and go and see them. It's very important that they understand that the public, the people who elect them, the people who pay their wages, they understand that you're not happy with laws that restrict your freedom to meet with your mates, restrict your freedom to go to places where someone might be who's prohibited, and restrict your freedom in what you want to wear. Now, we've got 4 speakers for you today. The first one is Karen Street. She's from a political party in Queensland. Love Australia or leave it, I understand, but she may correct me when she gets up here. Where are you, Karen? Here she comes. After that we'll have Peter Knox, also a Queenslander. Paul Bullock. Paul Bullock from the Tasmanian Motorcycle Council, and who'll tell you about the council's position on this thing, and the fact that you can also contact your MPs through the full page ad in the Mercury today, which the TMC paid for. And then our last speaker will be Andrew Wilkie, the Federal Member of Parliament, an ex-soldier and a citizen who cares enough to be here today. But without me going on too much more, here's Karen.
Thanks very much, everybody, for showing up today, because it means that you give a shit. I've got a bit of a speech written down there, but fuck it. I'll just tell you what it's like to live in Queensland. So you're going to go out with your friends for a birthday party. You pick the wrong pub, because there's members of another club in the same venue. You don't know them, you've never seen them, you've just consorted. Can you get your head around that? Doesn't make any sense, does it? How about your house gets the door kicked in whenever they feel like it, with paperwork that has no stamp on it, has no signature on it. It doesn't exist. It's bullshit. They get pieces of paper with photos on it, so you can't hang out with this guy. I don't even know who this guy is. But if I run into him now, I've got to stay away from him. How about Christmas time, Easter? How about going on a cruise ship? All these things, you're consorting. Your businesses are targeted by the police, even if it's not a tattoo shop. We've got some of the best tattooists in the world. Angelo, Little Mick, shut their businesses down. What did they do? What did they do wrong? They associated. They're members of a club. Normal, average riders, even the jack bike riders, you need to register your ride before you go for a ride. So it's a shit day on Thursday, we're not going for a ride this weekend. Then all of a sudden Saturday comes, it's not bad. Let's get on the bikes, guys, let's go for a ride. You haven't got a permit to go for that ride. So you're not going for a ride. It's not, I'm not tripping, this is true, this is what happens up there every weekend. They have roadblocks set up to stop us. But it's not us, it's you, it's everyone. It's got nothing to do with bikers. They've got something I read about mental health issues of people being intimidated by outlaw club members wearing insignias. What about the mental issues of not being able to hang out with your mates? These are the people you talk to. These are the people when you're feeling down, you go and you have a bit of a coffee with them and they make you feel better. You can't hang out and have a coffee with them because you can sort it. The money that's been spent in Queensland is $500 million. $500 million has been spent. How many convictions have they got? None. What have they done? They've just harassed the not so general public, but now it's filtering down. We had State of Origin the other week. I went to a pub, it said no club insignias, meaning no jerseys. No Queensland jerseys, no New South Wales jerseys in this pub tonight. Where are your civil rights? There was a Universal Declaration of Human Rights signed in 1948 to protect us, to give us basic rules to live by. The Magna Carta, 1215, another set of basic rules to live by. Shit, the Bible. Who are these people to make up other rules that oppress a certain minority? And you're not a minority, you're actually going to be the majority. You're all going to suffer from this. Police already have enough powers, if they're doing their job correctly, to arrest people if they suspect them of any wrongdoing, drug dealing, whatever they determine as a wrongdoing. We have a constitution in this country. Take you 5 minutes to download it on the internet, just the highlighted points. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. There's only 3 or 4 pages. Download it, sign it, send it to your local member. They have to do due diligence. They have to read and reply to your letters. So you go home and you get 3 or 4 other people to just one paragraph, one sentence will do, just to let them know that you're not unhappy, you're unhappy with this, and you know where it's going. Because at the end of the day, you'll all be like Queensland. Please, sir, can I go for a ride this weekend? Thanks.
The next speaker is Paul Bullock from the Tasmanian Motorcycle Council, and he's got some important stuff to tell you as well.
Today's 3 papers, the Mercury, Advocate and the Examiner, had a full-page ad with all the facts that pertain to Tasmania. You've heard from Queenslanders what's happened up there. Tasmania is looking at a lot worse than what they are. Here in Tasmania, the police and the police minister want to be judge and jury. Previously, the previous police commissioner had 2 charges laid against him and lost his job because he gave secret files to the police minister and one to the Premier. So we don't want to go down that track with this legislation. It should be done through the courts, if at all. I'll now hand over to Simon. At the bottom of the page, there's a link for emails, and if you send it to the Legislative Council, one press of the button goes to every Legislative Council member in the state. So please have a look at that and send your no, we don't support it in.
Let's hear from a Federal Member of Parliament, Andrew Wilkie, and yeah, here he is.
Well, good afternoon and thank you for letting me join you for this very important event. Obviously, there's some politicians want these consorting laws. The Premier up here, Will Hodgman, wants them. The Minister for Police, Michael Ferguson, wants them. And regrettably, there are some members of the community want them, but only because they've had the living daylights scared out of them by those politicians that want them. Yeah. But when you take a step back and you have a look at who doesn't want them, it's a pretty impressive list. Civil Liberties Australia doesn't want these laws. The Law Society doesn't want these laws. The Australian Lawyers Alliance doesn't want these laws. The Motorcycle Council doesn't want these laws. The motorcycle clubs don't want these laws, including some really notorious clubs like God Squad Christian Motorcycle Club. That sounds dangerous. And none of you want these laws, and I don't want these laws. And I'll tell you why. We're a lawful democratic country where every man, woman and child is equal. And one of the fundamental building blocks of our lawful democratic country is that there be one law and it be applied to all people and be applied to all people equally and fairly. But here we have another case where governments think it's okay to have one set of law for one group of people and another set of laws for another group of people. Let's have another set of laws for building workers. Let's have another set of laws for people who enjoy being in a bike club and going for a bike ride. Who's next? Maybe they should have another set of laws for politicians who too often think they're above the law. Because when I look at this, I tell you what I see. When you boil it right down, what I see is a state government who wants to make it a criminal offence not to do anything wrong, not to commit any crime, but simply for hanging out with what they think are the wrong kind of people. And that is deeply and fundamentally wrong, and deeply and fundamentally wrong for everything we stand for in this country as a lawful democratic nation. Correct. Some of you might be aware I've been a bit outspoken in Canberra about how Australia's becoming a police state. And mark my words, we are on the march towards a police state and we're halfway there. And it was interesting when I gave a speech some time ago in the Parliament and I talked about how Australia was in a pre-police state. It was one of the most viewed clips on the internet because it resonates with a lot of people that we are slowly and surely becoming a police state. You know, since 2001 there's been over 60 laws passed by the federal Parliament to do with security. Just this last week they passed laws to do with foreign influence and espionage that makes an offence simply to make a complaint to an international organisation. It makes it potentially an offence to join an international organisation. It makes it a criminal offence to go to a protest rally and to speak up when that can be said to be against this country's best interest. Do you know one of those federal laws passed last week? We all, you all, me included, could be said to be trying to damage Australia's prestige and national interest, and we'd be committing an offence. We are becoming a police state. It's as simple as that. One day we will wake up in this country and we will say, by God, how did we get here? How did we become a neo-fascist state? And if this law goes through the Tasmanian Parliament, and I hope it doesn't, and I know you hope it doesn't, and it certainly shouldn't because it does not have merit, then we'll be that one little bit closer to being a police state. Because we will live in a place where it will be potentially a crime because of the people we brush up against in the street. Even accidentally, even if we don't know that it's someone we shouldn't brush up against. Just having a drink with someone, having a beer with someone, having a barbecue with someone, talking to someone, your partner even. And don't believe what they say up here in this place, that there'll be protections for people, because already in Queensland we've seen overreach, where there was action taken against a couple who were in a domestic relationship because they were both members of a bike club. That is so deeply wrong, and it is chilling, absolutely chilling to the bone. You know, when you look at history, politicians are very good at demonising people. Correct. They're very good at demonising people and creating an enemy. And then having you believe, or having the community believe, that the only way to keep the community safe is to keep those politicians in power and to give them even more rules and laws and more power. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. declare an enemy, declare a war on them and go after them and claim that the community, you've got to stick with this government because otherwise you're all in danger. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book, and they're up to it. And as far as I know, they're all up to it. Because where are my colleagues here? You know, I would have liked to have said at the start of this little speech, and I'd like to recognise my parliamentary colleagues from local, state and federal parliament. If there are any here, put your hand up. No, because they're running scared, and that's not good enough either. You know, I would urge all of you to, in your quiet moments, get on the internet and surf around and find out more about what's going on here. Have a look at the article on the 21st of May from Hobart lawyer Greg Barnes, who wrote an excellent opinion piece in the Mercury condemning these laws. And he's a good ally in this, and I'll remain a good ally in that. I've received a lot of feedback recently about these laws. I was quite affected by an email I got on Tuesday from someone. Now, excuse me if I don't mention any names. I don't want them to get into strife. They might not want to be mentioned. But someone sent me this email, and can I read it to you? It's only short. The language ain't too good, so just bear with me on this. It says, "Hi Andrew Wilkie. I believe you'll be speaking at the rally in Hobart. Unfortunately, I can't attend due to medical conditions. But he gave me 3 little insights that he thought might inform my thinking on these laws. The first one was about his mum. My mother had broken her arm some time ago. Mum had ordered a side of meat from a supermarket, but as Mum couldn't drive, I drove her to pick up the meat. So Mum goes into the supermarket and the butcher comes out with a trolley of meat and says hello to the fellow who wrote this email. So he loads up puts the meat in the boot, and his mum and the butcher chatted, and then they all said goodbye and they drove away. And on the way back to Mum's place, Mum says, "He was a nice bloke." I said, "Do you know who he is?" And no was the answer from his mum. Well, who he is, it told her that he is the president of a club that could well become an outlaw motorcycle club, and that the email writer had drunk in the clubhouse with him. Mum was gobsmacked and said, "He is no different to anyone else." And the second little story that the emailer wrote was about his brother. My brother was a member of a motorcycle club in Victoria, and he died in 2013, and the club he was associated with couldn't have done anything more to help the family. And as his brother was buried in Victoria, my dad was unable to go to the funeral due to the fact he had a massive stroke. So the club offered to send 2 members over to Tasmania and get Dad, but unfortunately Dad was able to fly by doctor's orders. But how generous was that? That the club was going to send 2 members from Victoria to escort the unwell Dad up for the funeral. We as family members were all given armbands and a patch to wear, but Mum, she didn't have an armband. So I asked the president if they had anyone left, and the president of the club took his off and gave it to my mum. We went to the wake. Mum's 68. She'd never been inside a motorbike clubhouse, but we enjoyed a wonderful evening with great food and drinks, all done by the club. Mum said next day, what kind and generous people they are. And the third point, this is a great email, isn't it? The third point is about jobs. The person who sent me the email said, I know of many motorcycle club members who work in government jobs and councils, with Australia Post, with subcontractors and owners repairing government buildings. If these motorcycle club members are so bad, why does the government allow these people to work in those positions? I know why. Because the government has no clue who the members are without their colours on. Hope you have a great day. Kind regards. And I'll just say B for, I won't give you his name. And when I read that on Tuesday, I was quite affected by that. I thought that's lovely, and it was just a reminder that at this rally here today, I bet There are teachers, might even be a police officer out of uniform. I bet there's nurses. I bet there's builders, tradies, public servants. All normal people who have one thing in common and one thing alone. You all enjoy your bikes. And you all enjoy being in a club and the camaraderie that comes with being in a club with your bikes. That's the only thing that sets you all apart from other people. You enjoy your bikes, you enjoy being in a club. You're not criminals, you're not drug runners, you're not murderers. In fact, I reckon I feel safer here today than when I'm in Parliament. Being a black politician. But if there is anyone here who is doing anything criminal, then there are already laws to pursue you and to charge you and to have those charges heard.
Exactly.
We don't need more laws.
Bingo.
We need governments and police to implement the laws they've got, and if they're not being implemented well enough, we'll implement them better. It's as simple as that. We are a lawful democratic country. We are all equal. It's one law for all and apply it fairly. That's all we need, and we don't need these laws. And keep up the pressure on the members of the Legislative Council. There are some good people in there, and there are some members of the Legislative Council who will listen to reason. Ring them up, send them an email, try and meet with them, make the point to them, make them understand we are all equal and there shouldn't be a law that persecute you all. Thank you.
You know, it'd be a good thing if we had some cloning equipment. We put him, about 140 or 50 of him in the Parliament. No problem.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today in these blistery conditions that are just Tasmanian-like. The Police Offences Amendment Prohibited Insignia Bill 2018. I'm not good with reading, so I've been a motor mechanic most of my life, so I'm not that good at reading, but I'm good at Spanish sometimes. I'd like to say to you, whether you are in a motorcycle club that you wear a patch, whether it's a logo, an insignia on the front or the back, whether you're in a football club, whether you're just the average Joe Blow down the street, or you might even be in the RSL club, because that could well be affected by these laws very soon. Now, both my father and my grandfathers fought for this country. They made the rights through their fought to stay in this country for us to have a free right of speech and to associate and wear what we like. People died for us to be standing here today on this ground. And I thank them, and I'm sure you all thank them for this. And not only that, these people are the ones that give us the right to say what we wanted to say today. I'd like to say in this amendment bill, the Police Offences Amendment Bill, prohibited insignia. A component of it that really seriously worries me, and I'll read it from the proposed bill: display of certain insignia. In this section, identified organisation means an organisation that has been prescribed under subsection 3. Participant in relation to an organisation means a person who has been accepted as a member of the organisation, whether informally or through a process set by the organisation, and has not ceased to be a member of that organisation, or who is an honorary member of that organisation. It goes on to say, who is a prospective member of that organisation, who is an office holder of that organisation. Any person who identifies himself or herself in any way as to belonging to that organisation, whose conduct in relation to that organisation would reasonably lead another person to consider the person to be a participant in the organisation. Wow, that could be any one of you. So, in that saying that, they also say prohibited item means any piece of clothing, jewellery, a ring, a necklace, an earring, or any other accessory that displays the name of the identified organisation. the club patch, insignia, logo of an identified organisation, any image, symbol, abbreviation, acronym, or any other form of writing that indicates membership or an association with any identified organisation, including the symbol 1%. Now, if you don't know what 1% stands for, I suggest you go home, open up your internet browser, Google or whatever it is, and Google it.
I'd be breaking the law, wouldn't I?
More than likely, because they'll actually probably think that you're doing something wrong. But I would actually go home and have a look at it and understand it. I don't want to go on through here and say what it means, but I want you to just go home and have a look, because you'll be really interested to see what it started from. The simple 1%er. Any of these components can be bought on the internet by any person, child even. Any image, symbol, abbreviation, acronym, or any other form of writing that is prescribed. So the minister, the police minister, the Honorary Michael Ferguson, can make any person or any institution, any person or any club the prescribed person or prescribed institution. And under that prescribed institution, it could be anyone, whether it's a car club, a bike club, a boat club. The average night, you might have a Thursday night, you might have a 500 card club. You can all be prescribed under this. This is a blanket law trying to be brought in by these politicians and we'll go back one step, by the police minister and the police commissioner. It says in here that the minister is the person that can prescribe your club, your institution, or you as an individual to be identified. That should be the court's job. It should come under the legislation of going to court. That's what the judges do. In these components here, it says so many things that you really need to read this. It is only 10 pages long. I'm not going to bore you with it. It is real life stuff. It's going to affect you, your family, your friends, and your children for the next lifetime. This law comes in here, it's forever. Don't think they're going to repeal it. There's 471 pages in Queensland law now that are being trying to be repealed. The New South Wales Ombudsman has stated clearly that the laws haven't worked anywhere in New South Wales. The laws aren't working in Queensland. Why do we want to spend the money in Tasmania to bring in an idiotic law that hasn't worked in any other state?
Yeah!
So let's hope and pray that the upper house, the Legislative Council of Tasmania, because I firmly believe that it is already in the lower house. It is going to be, it already has been tabled. This is the insignia law. Then will come the constitution, the consorting law, and then there will be a prescribed house or places. And they will prescribe your house, your club rooms, the place that you go and camp at. Wherever it is, these bastards here are going to try to wreck it for all of us. So the police minister is the person that can prescribe you or your club or your institution. He doesn't need any information from anybody else. He can just do that. It says it in the bill. Do yourselves a favour, download it, read it, and write to your federal ministers and your lower house and upper house. There is a link on the page that is in the Tasmanian, the Mercury today, so I think page, it was under for the Tasmanian Motorcycle Council, and I really appreciate the help from the Tasmanian Motorcycle Council. They've put an ad in every paper in Tasmania today. They've come on board, they're pushing it. They've wrote down so many components in this that stand out, that squash your freedoms as Tasmanians and Australians. Don't let this mob, the coppers, or the Parliament walk over us Tasmanians.
Yeah!
Thank you everybody for coming again.
Thank you, Shaun.
Have a safe ride home, folks. Be careful out there.
Well, there you go. So, you know, in spite of the fact that everybody showed up. Well, they did. It Doesn't matter, 2 parts of stuff all, because they'll still push these bloody draconian laws through. It's how they roll. I felt that the first speaker took things a bit too far in terms of politicising it and wanting to turn it into some sort of a bloody protest against the Muslim religion. For God's sake, that wasn't why we were there. She did make a few good points, but that was completely inappropriate in my view. The other speakers were all excellent, I thought. Andrew Wilkie was very good. It's perfectly obvious that the crowd, you know, the people there, you know, like all of us, we don't want to be told who we can and can't associate with and what clothes we can wear and all of that. It's just, this is a free country, man. Well, it used to be. And yes, we are becoming a police state. Yes, we are becoming a police state. New South Wales is the worst. I think that, you know, Queensland is terrible in terms of the VLAD legislation and the other legislations that have come off the back of that. But as far as police states go, that bloody New South Wales, shocking. Victoria's terrible with the zero tolerance traffic infringements, you know. You only got to be floating 1 or 2 kilometres an hour above the bloody limit and they've nabbed you. Tasmania's good. We don't need to come in line with the rest of these bloody monkeys. Anyway, that's enough from me. Something a little bit different. I don't normally get caught up in, well, I don't normally publicise political views, but in this case, we need to do it. We need to resist. Violently opposed. Legally, of course. Any types of legislation like that that seek to vilify and ostracise members of the community. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. We'll be back. I'll catch you next time on Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Bye for now.